Whether you're on a battlefield, in public, or even in your personal life, the single most dangerous enemy you can ever have in the world is the one that you don't even recognize exists. This has been the downfall of so many throughout history, not being able to identify where the enemy is, or having identified one enemy, not realizing there was a second. Most of the time, it's us. It's ourselves. If you hear these 4 words, it should send up a red flag. It means you're dealing with an idealist. It means you're dealing with someone who has this fanciful notion that life or the world should or shouldn't be a way, or people ought not do this, or they ought do that. The enemy of contentment. Discontinue deciding in your life what anyone else should or shouldn't be doing, and you'll be a lot happier. That's my personal advice. But in today's video, we're going to talk about something else that's been going around in the media and online, talking about mandates. Better to have a known enemy than a forced ally. You can't force anyone to be your friend, because they wouldn't really be your friend then, would they? I'd like to propose a choice, and then based on the 2 options down in the comments, I would like for people to share what they believe the right decision would be. Now, this whole idea about the mandates for the roll up your sleeve thing. People have said that businesses should or should not have mandates. People should or should not be forced to do X, Y, Z, or ABC. It should always be a choice. Okay, I agree with that. But then think about the choice the business owner has, because he has a different calculus. Let's say you're a business owner, and your insurance company comes to you and says, you know, if you don't mandate vaccines, or if you don't have a certain amount of people vaccinated, we're going to raise your insurance rates much higher than your competition that does have mandates or does have a higher rate of vaccination. It's going to put you in a quandary, because you're going to have to raise your prices to pay the higher insurance rates, because that's what the insurance company will do. They'll say, look, if you don't want to do mandates, that's fine. But to us, that will make you more of a risk. So we're going to have to raise your rates. So now you have higher operating expenses. Well, what do businesses do? What do businesses do to mitigate risk and mitigate insurance? They can close down different stores if they have multiple locations, or they can cut back hours, they can cut back raises, they can hire people in at a lower rate, raise prices. That money has to come from somewhere. So while people are talking about their choice, and their choice is being protected, people have said, Governor Abbott has just signed an executive order banning all private businesses from having vax mandates. And everybody's clapping. Everybody thinks it's a great idea. Not putting himself in the position of a businessman. Now, I agree people should have choice. But doing it the way the Texas governor did it, with that heavy-handed hammer from government, that's going to cause a lot of unseen effects. Meaning businesses are going to be like, wow, okay, so my insurance rates are X number of dollars, top rate in this state, but operating in Texas, it's X plus 20%, X plus 25%. You're going to start to see businesses close up shop and pull out of Texas because of this. Simply because, and it's not a moral judgment the business is making. It's simply a financial one. It's just going to be more expensive. The insurance companies will raise the rates on businesses where low amounts of their employees are vaccinated, or there's an option to not be. Or they can say, well, you can maintain your rates, but then you have to do this testing, and then you have to have these mandatory masks, and then you have to have all this other stuff. This is just, and that adds into the cost of the business, of running the business. So what do? Are you pro-business? Are you pro-capitalism? Do you want to see growth? Do you want to see people wanting to be in your state? Well, that's the problem. Because there is a liability issue. Not the personal, not the employee's insurance, the business's insurance. That's going to be the problem. Now, there's an idea where you could not have mandates, but then have fines and fees for businesses that do. So if they say, look, we want everybody in our shop to be vaccinated, and anyone who's not can't be in our shop. So those people lose their jobs. The state of Florida could just say, okay, well, we're going to fine that business 125% of that employee's wages, and then take that fine money and then reimburse the person who doesn't have a job. So that person still gets their paycheck. They just aren't on the grounds, so to speak. They aren't at the business. So the business doesn't have to worry about the risk, but they still have the cost involved. So, just a thought. Now, the greater question in the world, though, is this. When is Norway going to finally address its bow and arrow problem? I mean, this has been going on for far too long now, don't you think? I mean, there's a story now where an assault bow with a high-capacity quiver with a bump string was used in an attack that they are now calling terrorism in Norway. Clearly, they have a problem in Norway with assault bows. And to echo what President Joe Biden said so many years ago when they were trying to address the problem here, just buy a double-barreled slingshot. I mean, that's the answer. I mean, you don't need some high-capacity quiver with a bump string and, those are military-grade bows. This guy in Kongsberg, Norway, took out 5 people and left 2 injured with a bow and arrow. With a bow and arrow. So apparently Norway needs to sit down and have an honest conversation about the types of bows and arrows that it's going to allow just civilians to have. It's been going on too long. It's a tragedy. Truly. So, anyway, I just wanted to cover this and not get into it in too much detail because, YouTube censors, all that kind of stuff. But you can find this on RT. And some guy got a hold of a bow and arrow and did a great deal of damage, but it just kind of proves the point, don't it? It kind of proves the point. It really wouldn't matter how much time you spent at the range or how many weapons you had at home in your locker or the weapon that was on you or how fast you could draw it or how good you were at making a sight picture. If somebody you don't know has a simple bow and arrow and they want to take you out. And oh, by the way, one of the people that got taken out in Norway was a police officer. If you don't know it's coming, you're dead. The most dangerous enemy in the world is the one you do not know about, the one you don't recognize. They have to be right once. You've got to be right 24/7, 365. if you live in that state. This idea that you can always be 100% protected all the time as long as you've got something ballistic tucked away somewhere. If you don't see it coming, that arrow will take you out just like they take out grizzly bears with them, and they take out elk with them, and they take out mountain lion with them. A lot of guys are bow hunters. If you don't know they're there and you don't know what's coming, it don't matter what you're packing. I don't care how many extra magazines you got. You're going to get hit once, and that'll be the end. I'll leave it there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.